Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. Today will be sort of. Oh, sorry, I hit the microphone. Today we'll be sort of working on. I don't have any references for any of my characters, so I thought now is a good time as any to start making them. So here we go. What I'm using is. This is the concept sketch page from. I actually got this for about $8. I doubt you can see it here, but I got it for around $8 at a Hobby Lobby here in Elizabethtown. So without further ado, let's get started. Hold on, let me adjust this microphone so that way it's not. Alright, there we go. I hope you can hear me better. Hold on, let's adjust this again. Alright, there. So let's get started. Rachel Osborne. If for some reason my audio is really terrible, let me know. Rachel, can you hear me at all? Was it better than the last few times I've streamed? I'm almost afraid to start playing music of any kind because, like, what if YouTube just cracks down on it? It's probably way too early to start talking smack about YouTube, but I kind of just got here. Yeah, rip. So I guess until take the time to get a whole playlist of free source music that I'll create a link to. I guess no music until then. Rip, rip music. So typically Arden's armor looks a lot different. Oh yeah, hit up that royalty free. Um, typically Arden's here. I'll just get it. So that is what her armor usually looks like, but I'm trying to go for a more knight-ish feel. Like she is in the story, at least. In the story here, she is light. She is light armored, and she's left-handed. maybe she'll be uh, right-handed for right now? Question mark. Yeah, I wish I could animate because the style of fighting that I always envision her using is like she would slash, she would complete it, and then she would switch hands, and she would actually do it so fluidly that um, it would make her like twice as fast. So like she would swing like with her left hand here, bring it with her right hand, and then extend it farther because her body would be sort of like, well, you can't see it, but like her left hand would be here, and you can only reach about this much, and so like right around somewhere she would trade it and then be able to reach farther. I don't know if that makes any sense, but and that probably won't make sense if any animators are watching. Almost kind of like sorry, I was just thinking there, but kind of like that movie, The Princess Bride. Ah, but you see, I am not left-handed. She should still have those ridiculously long boots. Kind of like RoboCop boots. not sure if I'm liking the pants. What do you think, all two of you? Should I keep the pants with the greaves here, or add more greaves? I guess I should probably talk about this character a little bit while I'm drawing. Um, so, this character is it's a strange one because um, they are, of course, a knight, um, but they're not a knight in the normal sense. Um, the time period in which they sort of became, like, gained the title of knight, was during a time of, you know, it was basically a warring time where um, a lot of vampires were sort of, you know, doing vampiric things. So this character grew up without any parents because they were killed by vampires. So to sort of get back at them, she eventually becomes a knight, um, though it is more of a subconscious choice. It is not something that she wants to do willfully. In fact, uh, I've always believed that vampires should be scary. So, not only are these vampires terrifying, they demoralize their enemies by devouring them before their comrades. Not just by sucking the blood, it is by, draining their targets of blood. They also eat them. Um, yeah, it's sort of dark, I guess, but you know, the story is of course unfinished. But I love this character because, well, they sort of become cold-hearted because of this, and they do not like people very much. She is abrasive and otherwise unnerving to talk to. Um, a lot of the times, she is misunderstood because she means well. She wants people to like her, but her very first friend was a vampire. He was an old blacksmith who forged her sword that she is wielding here. It is named Solstice because it was finished. I'm going to say in the summer solstice. I know there's a winter solstice out there, but whatever. Um, that's more fact checking for me anyway. But it is a sword imbued with holy fervor, and because of this, the sword burns. And if you are slashed by this blade, you are burned and sent to heaven. A very nice sword, but it is essentially burning away your sins, and you feel that. So she is the true wielder of this blade. Kind of ironic because she does not wish to fight in the first place, though she wants to. It's kind of like dealing with the idea that war is not something you want to go to. Um, War is not something you want to experience because, if you've been to it. Personally, I have not, but there's so many stories detailing that war is the worst thing ever and that you shouldn't go. So this character sort of embodies that. Though her parents were killed by vampires, she would rather avoid them because during this time, vampires are very powerful, and uh, being attacked by a vampire is certain death. Um, she is part of a family that is very, very strong innately. They are called the Zene, although that is bound to change because their last name is supposed to strike fear into the heart of others. They are known for their prowess in battle, and unfortunately, they have a hard time, you know, having children with others. Essentially, they have a breeding problem. Um, their genes are actually. I want to say that since like okay, we're gonna delve real deep into this lore here, but since the beginning of time, uh, they were the first family to sort of be established and to kind of make a name for themselves. Because of that, they are naturally strong. Um, and if you are not strong, you will not bond well with them. They are not a warring group, but they are, they would rather seek peace because war certainly takes a lot out of you, but they are naturally good at fighting. Uh, and this means like stuff like attack magic, like a fireball, stuff like that. They excel at it, but they're really terrible at healing. So instead of healing, they usually take the pain uh, and they apply it to themselves, sort of like paladins. So this is where her idea comes to play, is that she is sort of a half breed. She is one of the few successes when it comes to breeding between the classes. It's the at the top is the Zene, in the middle are the Dwyn, and in the third, so first is Zene, second is Dwyn, and the third is the Delacroix. Now the Delacroix are the third strongest family. Sorry, you can't see it. I had to. I always have to keep in mind that I'm looking at, like, I have to. Yeah, you get it. Typically, the Zene are sent out to fight as soldiers because they are innately stronger than others. There's the Dwyn. They're more like mages, um, and they have an innate prowess with magic and other things like that. Um, you'll see them as sort of scholars. Some of them will become knights and become sort of like battle mages, but since they're terrible at fighting, most of them are killed very easily. Um, then we have the Delacroix. They're not very good fight. They're sort of okay fighters, and they're okay at magic. They're not. They're pretty mediocre. And other families have different traits or stuff that they're sort of innately good at. But Arden is a special case because she is a mix between uh, Zene and Dwyn. So she is naturally good at magic um, and at fighting. So of course, her adoptive mother, the Sanguine Overlord, who is the whoever. If you were a Sanguine Overlord, you're essentially the ruler of this kingdom. More on that at a later date. I gotta make sure that you're also able to see what I'm doing. But the Sanguine Overlord, that's what the ruler is called. Her name is Ovelia, and she wants to see Arden become a knight. Because, naturally she's good at fighting. She's naturally strong. And a bit of a hothead. So, becoming a knight would be good for her. But, Arden she doesn't think that's a very good idea. And of course... Oh, hey dog. Hi. What are you doing? You want to scratch? Want me to scratch your butt? Ugh, I got my dog going. Alright, go away. I love you. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, wait, no, I don't remember. Don't remember after all. See, I can never find the... There it is. The... So she thinks that it'll be really good for her if she becomes a knight. And her friend, the vampire, his name is Valtieri. He forges his masterpiece. He had forged another weapon, the Blood Scythe. But he was forced to do that. So he's not very happy with it. He finally decides to forge another weapon. It is a holy weapon. And how you, in this universe, how you imbue items with magical properties is with stuff called... they're called soul cubes. Kind of like soul gems from Skyrim, essentially. They have the same full set. But it requires the soul of the wielder, or the user. So, the craftsman, sorry. It requires a part of the soul of the craftsman. This is very costly, so not a lot of craftsmen sort of imbue themselves into weapons. That's sort of as a final project where you have made your living as a blacksmith, you have passed on your knowledge, and so you make one final weapon. Your best... yeah, rip memory. It is sort of your best, your magnum opus. So, Solstice is his magnum opus. And before he fully imbues the sword, he gives the weapon to her. And as she leaves, he does the final incantation, and the weapon is imbued with the magic. And it is a holy fire, as he had wanted. As a vampire, as Valtieri is a vampire, it's sort of weird, I guess, that he would want holy flames as a blessing.
or as a God, I am tired. Got kind of weird that he would want that as a as an enchantment. There we go. I was trying brain fart, but I'm in the story. You know, the reader is supposed to sort of uh, try and guess as to why that is, because after that, they don't really talk about it anymore. It's not really brought up, probably because it's a very painful memory, at least for her, because growing up, that was her one of her only friends. Since her adoptive mother, was the Sandrine Overlord, she didn't really have a whole lot of time for her daughter. So she grew up she had a very lonely childhood. But it didn't come with it wasn't all bad. Essentially, this character um, touches up on the idea of loneliness and and the fact that it can't all be bad. There has to be some good that comes from it. So because of that, she's able to really really hone down on her. Oh crap! I messed this up. Anyway, um, she really honed down on her sword fighting skills. Um, yeah, that's probably gonna bother me later, but oh well. Um, she was really able to hone to touch on her fighting skills. Um, what little she was taught by her mother, and the only way for somebody to really earn their sort of way is through fighting. At least as a knight. If you're a smith, you earn it by creating better and better blades, providing more detailed notes about certain materials, basically contributing to the smithing society. But as a knight, you sort of have to prove yourself in combat. And during peace times, it's difficult to do that. I'm not sure how. It's going to be different, especially if I decide to actually go through with this and make it an actual full-fledged story and flesh out the society. But for right now, um, this is all um, in my brain. Uh, but to answer a question some of you probably ask, especially if you see a lot of my artwork, um, what is the symbol on their chest? It is always emblazoned. You know, and since Arden is a knight, it is very prominent. It is a very prominent part of her uh, of her sort of build, as you would say. Like her outfit, everything about her is sort of tied to this symbol. Um, it is sort of a symbol, like it's sort of a play on the Christian symbol of the cross, but um, it is a blessing given to knights who to new recruits, because it is a cross that essentially is a protector. When you put the cross on your armor, that's how you put on your armor. And you have like clothes underneath, so like you would wear a set of clothes, but you put that on, and bam, you got armor. Um, the only problem with this is the armor strength depends on your fortitude, your vitality. So how strong you are spiritually. As you can see here, Arden is apparently very strong because she has a lot of armor, and the armor sort of feeds off the wearer. So you sort of wear it as a necklace, if you catch my drift. And when you go into combat, your armor would protect you, but each hit drains your vitality. And of course, piercing your armor obviously very much damages you, and it weakens your armor. So, I don't know. That's the sort of idea that I like to have, especially, kind of have it like be more of armor also be more of a spiritual thing. Because if you sort of look at a lot of um, a lot of a lot of stories about fighters, it is about their strength, and their equipment and stuff like that sort of becomes a legend because of them. So this is essentially playing a lot off that idea that the stronger the knight is, the symbol will give them more protection. So you may be probably wondering, why the hell have smiths anyway? Because they're kind of useless if this symbol provides all the protection. There's a thing in there. That will be answered by the very first smith, who sort of discovered the aspect of working metal and turning it into ore. Wait, that's backwards. It is sort of turning ore into metal, and metalworking and all that. The very first guy to do it, he also discovered enchanting. He was a magician, and he wanted to sort of make a unique technique of making enchantments also making armor into enchantments, if that makes any sense. It's like bound. If you've ever played Skyrim, it's like bound armor, but you can you pull the symbol off, your armor comes off, essentially. It's probably really confusing. I'm sorry if you're listening and you're like, oh my god, what is he talking about? But this idea is very, very, very crude because I haven't had time to sort of think it out. A lot of my ideas will probably be just ideas until I feel comfortable about turning them into. Because I also want to make them into story elements. I don't want them to just be like an idea that just is kind of there. I want my ideas to have a function in the world that they exist in. At least that's how I've always seen it. That's whoops. I'm probably losing track of everything that I say, but don't worry. This is all according to plan. Probably. My hand's hurting. If anyone wants to hear about this, a little bit about me. I am an artist who, I guess you could call me a starving artist, question mark. I work at a local factory. I'm somebody who, I love making stories. I love drawing. But unfortunately, that doesn't pay the bills. So, until that does, I will do my best to provide good content. Provide good content. Sort of show off what I can do. Where was I last? Uh, yeah, sorry, the stream is sort of all over the place. It's like 2:27 a.m. and I should probably stop here soon. Oh, she's got a. In my inking there, it makes her nose look really crunchy, scrunched up. Um, let's see. Well, anyway, yeah, I work at a local factory. Um, this is something that I really like to do, so I'm sharing that with you. Yeah, crunch nose. Maybe she got hit in the nose while she was fighting. That'd be kind of cool. And the one thing that kind of sucks about drawing really, really big, quote unquote, armor. I would like for this character to appear in in a comic one day if I ever decide to. Well, if I ever make it. So, but she is. Well, I guess I should probably talk more about my character than myself. Um, she is at the start of the story. She is. Uh, she is 20. She's 20 years old. I like to work with characters who have passed puberty successfully. Probably because in this sort of genre. Um, now, don't get me wrong. Teenage characters are nice. They're good. I'm not saying that characters like that are bad. I just want to work with older characters who have experienced life already, at least, who have um, taken the time to at least understand themselves. Because, well, in the story, knights are allowed to become knights until they're 20 years old anyway. Um, but she is around 20 years old when the story begins. Um, and she is still haunted by the memory of seeing her parents being eaten by vampires while she was younger. Um, she, unfortunately, she was a victim of the war that had been started because of the Xena family. They had overstepped some boundaries, and one of their members attacked another, like a vampiric family. They didn't like it, so they declared war on them. And since the Xena were they're sort of the figures like of authority in the society. Um, Essentially, that's declaring war on everybody. Not everyone decided to participate, but certainly everybody had to deal with it because, well, the vampires were like, well, since we're vampires and we're kind of badasses, we're just gonna kill everybody because we can. Um, anyway, vampires had started a war, and so one of the lead mages, their name was Asalia. She's like, nah, man, this can't happen. We don't have the resources. We already just got through claiming another part of um, of Sanctuary. That's the place. That's what it's called. The place where they live is called. Um, there, she casts a spell that she has to channel. You know, keep. She has to keep thinking of the spell and the incantation at all times. Um, to create an eternal winter. In hopes of just freezing the vampires because nobody's ever had to deal with them before. So the whole place is, for as long as Arden can remember, which is about 20 years. I mean, for all we know, the entire land has been covered in snow for 20 years. So, because of that, nobody likes to go outside, and so the vampires have to sort of find their own food, as it were. So this is why every picture of her has this sort of guard right here. Has a lot of protection around the neck. I don't think I've ever drawn this with what is it? With a helmet. I'm not sure if I will, but I think it's safe to say that a helmet would fit in there. Um, I'm running out of stuff to talk about because I'm getting more and more tired. I think I will finish inking this right here and then call it a night. I've had sort of a long day and I need to unwind. Oh, and if anyone's wondering why there's a gap right here, I just think it looks cool. And Sven's the other character here. I'll show him off real quick. He has that sort of gap thing going on there too. He is not nearly as detailed as Arden, though. I think I tried to make that picture as quickly as possible. That really taking time to sit down and talk about it. Oh, hit the microphone. Maybe I'll redo that. And I don't know if anyone has heard of or played EverQuest. It is one of my favorite games. So the sort of gap here comes from if anyone has seen Stoneworks, he is on DeviantArt, but he made the design for the Paladin Epic 2.0. You should really look him up. He has some amazing work. Shoutouts to Stoneworks. I guess a lot of my influences come from video games, anime, obviously. Namely, I can say that my style is sort of comes from The Vision of Escaflowne, if anyone has seen it. Let's see. There's The Vision of Escaflowne. A lot of my narrative stuff, I have a bit of. I really love Dune, and I just sort of love the mysticism in that series. I think my biggest influence actually is The Vision of Escaflowne. As far as stuff like mythos goes, I have to enjoy the EverQuest lore the most. If anyone was to ask me, what's your favorite game lore? A bruise. Actually, no, that's a scar. I haven't hit my hand on anything lately, but if you need to go to sleep, you should. Oh, girl. Oh, Rosie. No, girl. Steal away. Steal away. Steal away, love. Steal away. They call me the hunter. That's how I. Oh, okay. No, I'm about to call it quits. I'm almost done with the inking. At least on this. I know. Shoutouts to Led Zeppelin. I know they're not technically a band anymore, but they're the best band ever. Yes is still my favorite band, but I mean, can't go wrong with some Zeppelin. Alright, to sort of save our progress. Oh, I should probably ink this bit right here. Yep, to sort of save our progress, I'm going to erase this. And that'll be it for me tonight, everyone. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a really great day.